Independence Day. And his message is one that everybody should take to heart. This is our country. We have none other than this one. We have to work together to grow the country and move it forward. And in moving forward, we continue the big issue as we look at this very controversial approval of ministerial nominees that has led to some form of conflict between the NDC parliamentary caucus and the NDC party. But it's not just a conflict as well between them. Public perception seems to have shifted, and I want to address that with the Deputy Majority Leader, Alex Afenyo-Markin, Member of Parliament for Futu. Honorable Markin, can you hear me? Okay, I'll get him to answer that question once he joins us. But Suhini, yes, we're discussing the public side of this, where over a 3-week period, you finally get the attention of the country. They see Parliament in a different light, and then you get this kind of outcome. There are those who say you've basically stripped the institution.
No, I disagree. Like I was saying before we went on that break, I would want our members to understand that many of us in Parliament wish we were in government. We wish we were in government. We are not very proud and happy that we are in opposition. And so we are all still reeling under the disappointment of our inability to form a government. And for those of us on the appointments committee, it was very tedious work for us. I mean, we had to do so much research, sometimes very deep into the night, especially because the vetting was daily. After every vetting, which sometimes ended at around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. in some cases, you still had to go and do some more research for the next day's work and all that. So it was not a joke for us. We were not just doing it for the cameras. We were doing it believing that it was going to result in something that the nation was going to be very proud of. I recall having a conversation with Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa and myself, some other day, and we all, realized the burden that we carried as young people with the opportunity, to do the job that we were doing, and urge each other not to take that opportunity lightly, because there was so much expectation out there. So we did not just do it for the show. We did it, believing that we were serving our country, and we genuinely expected it to end in a better way than it did. Honestly, I must admit, we anticipated and hoped dearly that it was going to end in a better way than it did. But just like they say, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffer. So, I mean, Godfrey, without going into details, I don't think that it is fair for us to accuse each other and tag each other of being sellouts at this point. I don't think that it is fair at all. It's not fair on members of Parliament who fought tooth and nail when it mattered most to give the NDC and Ghana a speaker that is not with the NPP that has formed a government. So it is not fair at all. I think we must stop, suspecting each other. I do not think that decisions that were taken on that night were as a result of financial inducements or considerations. I think it was just a breakdown of, if you like, a breakdown of proper conversation and negotiation between party and Parliament. That is what I believe, gave us the kind of results that we had on that day. So because there was that loggerheads, the grassroots are having to now bear the brunt of the decisions that came out of that loggerheads. Because if we did not have that loggerheads, the decision could have been better. It may not have been the overall desired decision, but it could have been better. I believe that if we're focused on that day, instead of pulling and pushing, we could have at least even brought home, if for nothing at all, our number of votes on our side. Even if it was not enough to reject a nominee, we would have brought home the number on our side. But the bickering, the disagreements, and the breakdown in talks between party and the parliamentary leadership is what made the situation that worse. And I am happy that as a caucus we have pledged, we have recognized the failure, we have recognized the disappointment that we have caused our rank and file, and indeed, Ghanaians from all walks of life. And we are pledging to continue to play our critical role of holding government to account. We are blessed to have the numbers that we have, and we will not take it for granted moving forward. Yeah. I am very confident of that.
All right, then. I think I can go to Winneba now and speak to the Honorable Afenyomark. Honorable Afenyomark, good morning. Honorable Afenyomark, good morning. Honorable Afenyomark, if you could unmute your microphone so that I can hear you.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. How's the constituency?
Well, we're doing well. We have a number of programs to attend to, but I'm sure I have to also discharge an obligation here. So
Certainly.
I think I'm starting with City FM's big issues.
All right, then. Thank you very much for making time for us this morning. Now, on the matter of the approval of ministers, yes, I don't want to deal with you on the NDC and its issue. That is their issue. But on the general scale of things, people watch the vetting with a certain kind of expectation. And then you get wholesale approvals. And people are like, well, then why do you vet if everybody is going to get approved, even if it is obvious that people should have some kind of difficulty in getting approved based on what the general public saw? Is there some kind of dissonance in what the general public believes to be a person who can become a minister and what the political class thinks a person needs to become a minister? Is there some dissonance there?
Well, we have a duty to educate the public on issues of law, politics, and this is our democracy. The Constitution provides for the essential qualifications, and the President, in accord with Article 78, proceeded to do the nomination. Thereafter, it was our duty as Parliament to look at the qualifications in accord with Articles 94. Let me point out here that Parliament cannot just reject a nominee. You must have a constitutional basis. And I think that is one point that some members of the public out there are not aware. When you appear before a parliamentary committee to vet you, it's not an aptitude test or a classroom examination that somebody will say, oh, this one has failed, or couldn't articulate their views well and all that. That is not how it operates. No. And I think that is also one of the reasons why our friends on the other side are having difficulty explaining matters to their people. That notwithstanding, I must say that they themselves brought this onto themselves, because prior to the vetting itself, they had sided their base and given a certain impression that, oh, there is a predetermined agenda that some people will go through, others will not go through, and created a certain impression that, as for some people, life will be difficult for them. So, having eventually passed all of them, the grassroots would want to raise certain questions, and that is a problem that appear to be, coming up on their side. And my colleague Suhini is letting us know at first hand a lot of things that we didn't know. But be that as it may, we have Honorable Asedun Ketia, a former member of Parliament, Honorable Fosampofo, a former member of parliament. These individuals are the General Secretary and National Chairman, respectively. So I expect that they should have some superior knowledge of the happenings in Parliament. So in making certain demands on their colleagues in Parliament, the approach will be much more measured, because Mr. Sedun Ketse and Mr. Ofosampofu know that in Parliament you cannot just reject a nominee. They know that as a fact. At first, and we are being told that there are cracks in their leadership. We didn't know that. But Mr. Sweeney and I are well aware that, look, throughout the vetting, we cooperated, we worked together, and there was no problem at all. We have been told again that there was a decision where the NDC group rejected all three, i.e. Kojo Oponkroma, Howard Kumsin, and Dr. Kwekwe Free. I beg to state that it is not correct. I know as a fact, and this is where our sincerity as politicians is being brought to test. We must be sincere. There are problems sometimes, but we must be sincere to the fact, because politics is not a day's event. What happened was that honorable leader on their side, when the day for decision first had a leadership meeting with the chairman of the committee, though I am the vice chair, I was not there. But my chairman briefed me on the meeting. That notwithstanding, at an open committee meeting, the leader on their side was clear in his language for the record that there were some disagreement on their side regarding the three, and that they don't want a situation where those strong views will find expression in the form of a vote. Therefore, we should, and I use these words, we should proceed on the three as a majority decision.
No.
Nobody should attempt to introduce a certain interpretation here. No. Nobody should. That is not appropriate. So, as far as I know, that was it. Until that surprise was introduced on the House floor because some pressure somewhere, which I can't explain. Then eventually, the one who came back to say that it was a split decision apologized, withdrew, and restated the fact. When Mr. Speaker met leadership in caucus, our colleague Muntaka again apologized and in fact said that in good faith, the decision was to be carried as a majority decision, not as being interpreted with respect by my good friend Shuhini to mean that majority as in the MPP side approving. No, it was not the case at all. But you see, NDC has been in power before. MPP has been in power before. This politics, no one party will be in opposition perpetually. A day will come, we would also come, into opposition. Governance is about cooperation. We need to cooperate with each other. And sometimes when people overhype a particular individual as not as the one to be rejected, on the contrary, that person is rather the most popular. And this tells you something about politics. It is not about what somebody perceives you to be, that in a contest somebody has 3 PhDs, somebody has double masters, somebody only has a middle school living certificate. Even the person was not articulate, the person was not a good orator, his grammar was bad. You may think that the person will fail. Yes, in your expectation, that could be so. But it is a political engagement, and people would have a different understanding of it. That is how come you could see that Hawa Kumsin, had 161, because I thought that Kojo Oppong was so popular and was going to get more. And to be frank with you, I was a bit worried about Hawa, but not too worried about Kojo Oppong. But when the counting was done, Kojo had 154, Hawa 161, and a Greek minister 143. So that's the beauty of the whole process.
But Honorable Markin, since you are on that tangent, again, I am asking this for the public, and you've mentioned perception a lot, who sit back and watch. You make this sound like, okay, this is a process that only the political class understands. But these persons, once approved by you, the political class, have to govern for the general populace who sat behind their television sets and radio and listened. And so if you say disqualification requires a certain constitutional reason, which part of the Constitution outlines these reasons that one can be rejected, so that the general public can also, when they sit down, have the same parameters that you are looking at? Otherwise, you might as well be doing the vetting in camera, because it does not matter to us.
One, you and I must educate our followers. Mm-hmm. You and I must explain to the public out there those constitutional imperatives. That to qualify as a minister, there is an essential qualification to be first as a member of parliament. Once you meet that criteria, it is good to go. Now, the Constitution doesn't talk about level of education to be a minister of state. The Constitution says, 1, you must be a citizen of Ghana. 2, you should have paid your taxes or made arrangement to pay those taxes. 2, you should have no allegiance to another country. 3, you shouldn't have been convicted or shouldn't have had any adverse findings against you by way of a committee or a commission and all that. So these are the basic constitutional provisions. And you read that in Article 94 through, you will find them there. All right? The point is that if our people out there are able to understand these, they would not then say articulation or oratory skill should be the basis. Because
but hold on, but know how.
If you indulge me,
I will. But I just want to add so that you can allow you to go on.
Indulge me with respect.
Okay, please go on.
The few, somebody like Kojo Oppong.
Yes, sir.
What was the basis for his rejection? A Greek minister. What was the basis for his rejection? Hawa Kumsin. That the mere fact that somebody was asking her very specific questions regarding a ministry that she has not been there, and even she is not even the president's representative at that ministry, even in this transition period. The fact that all that she would get is briefing on general issues of policy. So if you ask her, what is aquaculture? And she doesn't know. Then you say that, oh, she couldn't even define what is aquaculture. If you ask her, what is fish farming? How many fishing seasons do we have in the country? With respect, if these are examination questions, you can have a case, but they are not. The political appointee goes in to implement policy, initiate policy, and must have a general knowledge, basic understanding of policy, guided by technocrats and his or her own understanding of the general issues, he or she is to provide the leadership. And let us understand it from the angle of leadership. It is not about extreme specifics and details about technical areas. And I think that is where Hawa had a backlash from the public. And it was all on how questions were situated for her. Now, let's also look at her performance. Regarding the area that she had superintended for 4 years. She distinguished herself. Questions that were thrown at her. Look at her energy levels. Go back to the video. See how she approached, how she explained areas, the contract, the project, how she explained the areas of her work. That should tell you that, yes, she was not just there sleeping. No. So I think that it is good for our democracy, for the public to have a certain expectation. No doubt. After all, this is a public opinion-driven enterprise we are all in. So I agree. But when one party sets the agenda and look at the fluidity of information in the social media space, and it catches fire, then all of a sudden reality dawns on you and it becomes a problem for you. Don't blame somebody. Now who caused her? But I think that going forward, we have a duty to explain issues and give a certain understanding out there so that people's expectation wouldn't be way high. Let me end on the issue of corruption and how the public perceives it to be.
Yes.
Example is this banking sector crisis. You recall, Ghanaians were like, if you say those people have taken state monies and did not invest it in the banks and they use it for private purpose, why are you not prosecuting them? Why the blame game? I get it. That is the position of the public. But going to court would mean having conducted a thorough investigation, make sure that you have gotten all the ingredients of the offense properly structured, then you get in to secure conviction. I am a courtroom practitioner, and I can tell you that on a number of occasions, I'd gotten victory for my client because prosecution did not do a good job, or that they misfired in the trial. Technicalities can get somebody out. But have we educated the public to understand? Look at what happened in 79. Public opinion, let the blood flow, kill them. They are corrupt, they are criminals. People face firing squad. But the same public turn around again and say, oh, it's too much, the excesses of the AFRC, PNBC, why jail somebody without trial while citizens vetting committee. So I think that public has a certain expectation, but we must always draw the attention to due process of law. Due process of law may be tedious, may be burdensome, may be unpalatable, may be unacceptable to the anxious observer. But we must suppress those anxious emotional feelings and say that, look, it could be you tomorrow. So please let us follow due process. That if all men find a man's hand in a till, his guilt must still be proven. We must. And I think that the media, the political class, other civil society organizations must come together on this so that people would know that, yes, we must right the wrong, but through due process of law.
And let me ask you another question before I come in to Honorable Suhid, who says he has a few comments to make on some of the things you have said. So, per your explanation of what the whole vetting process is and the kind of education that needs to be provided for the public, it looks like there's realistically no chance of there ever being a poor candidate, for want of a better word, to appear before the appointments committee.
I have stated without more that it is constitutional. And you meet a constitutional obligation, you get into the office to perform a function as expected of you. Other than that, ask yourself a question. Have we also had a very objective, fair system? Somebody spends 30 minutes at vetting. Somebody spends 20 minutes. Somebody comes, you say, oh, as for this man, he's a member of parliament. Oh, we know him. Okay. Regional minister spends 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or this or that. So there's a certain consideration. I am saying that whereas somebody comes in 7 hours, 6 hours, another is 1 hour. So would you want to say that somebody's 1 hour is equal to somebody's 6 hours? So if we want to stretch it, we may never end it. All I am saying, and it is a precedent that will help all of us tomorrow, we should look at the constitutional provision. If Afenyo is nominated for a particular office, what is your basis for his disqualification? What is your basis for judging him as a poor performer at vetting? What is your basis for saying that, oh, he was able to articulate things and all that? Do you remember Honorable Betty Modi-Drisu?
Yes.
At her vetting, she was super. I recall 2009. Oh dear. She answered every question. She did so well and all that. Now, when the issue of Woyome, got into the public domain, then they say, but she's not the same person who did so well, and we thought she could do so well. How come this thing? Do you blame her for the Woyome judgment debt issue? Well, people had their own perception about that. Look at Martin Amidu. People were expecting that immediately he gets into office, he would be parading people and taking them to court. On countless occasions, this man had to come out to say, look, it's about due process. No, we don't do it that way. But the public was, you at your vetting, we were hearing you say this, you were able to endure several hours of vetting, you distinguish yourself and all that. But why are you not performing? Look at the attack on him. His hands were tied. He could not just do anything except to follow due process of law. So what I'm saying, in effect, is that it is not about the oratory skills one has. If it's all about that, then I'm sure many people will not pass the vetting. Again, it's not about an aptitude test, or it's not about issue of defining what is the meaning of that, what is the meaning of that, and all that. It's not a classroom examination. If it's all about that, I am afraid that even if you get the Attorney General, you start asking him to define. If you have an Attorney General nominee coming before you and you start asking, define res fiscal liquidator, define this, define that. Trust me, those academic questions, at a point, he may forget certain things and say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer. Would that be the position of the public that, oh, this man is not knowledgeable, is poor? No. So let us reconcile the two views. What the public expects, what we know as our bona fide, as a parliament, in accord with the constitution. Because our bona fides are enshrined in the Constitution. We cannot act outside of it. It would amount to we abusing our privilege, our mandate, and constitute Article 296 frowns at that. So we don't also want that. And I think, again, that is a difficulty that our colleagues are facing now. So let us get the roadmap clear and let the pathway be certain for the public. And in fact, even you, the media, should be on the same path with us. It's only one way and not other way.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Afenyo-Markin, for that, for your comments on this particular matter. Suhini wants to make a couple of comments, so please stay on so that you can respond if need be. Then I'll come to Lawyer Kwebu on this
Suhini
matter.
Bro, good morning.
Well, I know why you didn't greet me. We'll talk about it after the show.
You know,
we'll talk about it after the show.
I apologize to you, and you know this is not how our relationship is founded. But you recall that. Tell your people that on the 9th of 6th January. You were able to pull through for them, and we did not go around attacking any fit columnists. This is not a. You did. Let's move on that. You also had to endure the attack from your party, just as we are enduring now. But I agree. And how opinions are becoming enriched. So please, you should take it easy. Yes, I agree. And they shouldn't try to get you to now say that the spirit of cooperation and consensus building should elude Parliament. To the extent that the argument is made that you need to subject what is happening in Parliament to our constitutional provisions of what is required for one to be a minister, I agree entirely. I mean, if you look at 78(1), it simply says that ministers of state shall be appointed by the president with the prior approval of Parliament from among members of Parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members of Parliament. So they should come from Parliament or they should be qualified to become parliamentarians. Now, what is the qualification for being a parliamentarian? You go to Article 94(1), and it says, subject to the provisions of this article, a person shall not be qualified to be a member of Parliament unless he is a citizen of Ghana, he is resident in the constituency, he has paid all his taxes or made arrangements satisfactorily. A person shall not be qualified to be a member of Parliament. And then they list also what you will do. What will make you ineligible to be elected as Parliament? You if you owe allegiance to a country other than Ghana, if you are bankrupt under any law in force in Ghana, if you are of unsound mind or is detained as a criminal lunatic under any law. So even of unsound mind, I take it that it relates to an established law that will establish that you are of unsound mind. Then he has been convicted, has been found by a report of a commission or committee of inquiry to be incompetent to hold public office. So even incompetence, it has to relate to an official document suggesting your incompetence. Okay. It cannot just be based on the examination of you and I. So we all know about these provisions, but what has been our practice? Let's be sincere. Let's be sincere. Yeah. I mean, our chairman, and that is where sometimes you understand the sentiments of our party, Honorable Ofosu-Ampofo, when he was elected to be, nominated to be a deputy minister of, I think, Eastern Region then, what didn't he go through on the floor? All kinds of suggestions that ridiculous ones. One including the claim that he had a girlfriend in a bank, and the committee had to set up a subcommittee to investigate that. That's right. It was basis enough for his approval to be held. A claim that he had a farm, a big farm, a poultry farm. They went to his constituency to check the farm to be sure, only to find a hen coop. Yes, but so when you have such a person as chairman of a political party today, how do you convince him
that all those who appeared before the appointment committee did not have issues that you could use to suspend or hold their approval. So you need to understand what we are faced with as a party and understand the points and angles from which everyone is coming from. Mohamed Mumuni, I read the 2009 Hansard when we were preparing for this debate. My own uncle, Alhaji Mohamed Mumuni, when he was nominated to be a Minister for Foreign Affairs, in the arguments of our majority leader now, Ozeche Mensah Bonsu, he claimed that he met Alhaji Mohamed Mumuni and greeted him and he didn't respond. And on that basis, he didn't think he was fit to be Ghana Foreign Affairs Minister because he was intolerant. Those were arguments made. So what has been, that's the question I asked of, what has been the practice? So yes, we know the constitutional provisions, but we also know the reasons that people have used to, hold nominations of people to become ministers. And my brother asked about what were the justifications for the rejection of somebody like Kojo Opong Nkrumah. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I could just hold. You can take notes.
I just want to.
For Kojo Opong.
One second intervention.
Godfred, can I move on?
Just take notes. I beg you.
For Kojo
just
Opong,
take notes for me.
For Kojo Opong, for example, we raise issues of integrity, with his involvement in the Oval Microfinance and West Brownstone brouhaha. And if you followed the vetting, you would have known that, there were issues there. Yeah. And the fact that, and we had the Bank of Ghana report, and we know what he said. Some of them were contradicted by the Bank of Ghana report. The inter-party lending, for example, is in that report. The fact that Brownstone took money from Oval Microfinance and defaulted is established in that Bank of Ghana report. Yet, Godfred, we have people in this country who have been prosecuted for the same offense in this banking crisis. So you have such a person being nominated to become a minister. So it was not just based on, sentimental or flimsy reasons.
Okay.
And that these people,
MX24 TV matter.
And the MX24 TV issue, we raised that also as basis for our disqualification. Somebody like the Agric Minister, we talked about abuse of office. Abuse of office relating to how he calls a classmate who had gone on retirement to be returned to Cocoa Board as a deputy CEO. And when Cocoa Board resisted that, because he was on retirement, he made the person a special advisor in his office as minister, but compelled Cocoa Board to restore entitlements to him as deputy director of CEO. That is complete abuse of office. Then you had the issue of Gapoha.
Yes, the confusion, but no, your party didn't see this through.
No, we did. That takes me to the other thing I want to respond to. We did. As a group, in fact, when we met, let me inform Honorable Markin, my very good friend, that I'm happy he started by saying he was briefed by the chairman of the committee, and he is deputy ranking. I was there throughout, and I know that as a group of NDC members on the appointment committee, when we met to take our decision, and I'll reveal this, the first decision we took was whether we will vote as individuals or we will vote en bloc. We took that decision. So the question was put to the 13 members on the people we have issues on. Are we going to vote as individuals or we will vote as a group? And so as a group we agreed that we should go as a group. And so anyone we were rejecting as a group. Anyone anyone we're calling for suspension, we're calling for suspension as a group. And anyone we're approving as a group. So when we said we had issues with this three, we had issues with them as a group.
Okay, point well made.
And so that was communicated to the chairman of the committee that these are the people we have issues with and we recommend rejection for. These are the people we think we can give a second chance to, so they come and attempt to convince us on the issues we have. But these are the people we don't have any problem with and we want to approve unanimously. It was communicated in that manner. But like I said, and like Honorable Muntaka explained on the floor that day, at the time, we're operating, he was operating on the assumption that they are the majority group. And so their decision as majority group is what will be communicated to the House. Okay. But it is not as if we had confusion among ourselves as to whether to go. No, I don't think that that is fair. So I'm just saying that we had issues, and our issues were not flimsy. Our issues were not sentimental in nature. They were based on the outcome of the vetting process, and that is why, Godfred, I told you from the beginning that some of us hoped for a better ending than what we had, and we sincerely apologize to all those who may have been disappointed by, the outcome of the very thorough vetting process. And we believe that moving forward, we can do better. It was a slip based on the misunderstanding that I spoke about earlier between party leadership and leadership of parliament. I do not think it is fair for us to attack each other as comrades in the NDC and impugn ill motives and even suggest bribery, against each other. I think that it is unfair, it is unjustifiable, and we must focus ahead. The Supreme Court has ruled that Nana Akufo-Addo is president. He has a 4-year mandate. We have a very good chance as NDC members of parliament with a strong, an equal number, let me say, to the governing party. And we commit not to take that for granted. We will hold this government to the fire of accountability moving forward. I'm very confident. First, we must, however, resolve the little disagreements that we may have between Parliament and the party. I thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, you can quickly. You said you wanted to make an intervention. Quickly. Please go ahead, sir.
May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I think that on the issue of the Agric Minister and the name Dr. Edouard Mpoma, there are some inaccuracies there, and I need to point it out because the facts are known to all of us, but sometimes people want to twist it. When MPP assumed office in 2017, Dr. Edouard Mpoma was among some Cocoa Board officials who joined the transition team, and he had been asked to go home by the NDC administration, not that he had retired. He and some other, he was not alone. It is important these facts are pointed out so that if we are saying accountability and abuse of office, we must also be fair to Dr. Akoto Afriye. He did not bring him as his friend. He was not alone. I remember that the Deputy Chief Executive FNA and Deputy Chief Executive Operations. So on that score that he brought back his friend, that is not correct. If he's talking about the person being a special assistant to the minister, he is a special assistant to the minister. That was when they were removed. I mean, they were retired by the government. As to other details regarding remuneration, that I am unaware. So I will not say that which I don't know. But it isn't accurate that Edouard Mpoma was brought by his friend to be a deputy chief executive and that he had already retired. That is not correct. And I would beg my colleague to check that fact.
All right.
On the issue of Opon Nkrumah, The argument of our friends was to the effect that a question was asked whether he owned a TV station. He said no. Whether he was a director of a TV station, he said no. And according to our colleagues, their own research team had checked and that Kojo's wife was a director, so he had lied. But the question was not about whether or not his wife was a director. Now let's come back to the issue of BOG. I again want to plead with my respected colleague, Suhini. He and I share the same, esprit de corps, and knows how much I respect him. Let us argue with facts.
Of course.
Has Bank of Ghana indicted Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, or that was he a director at the time that the company was, closed down?
He was the highest shareholder.
Had this company received any monies from BOG, for which reason the state had lost any money? Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah was not the only person in that situation. Honorable Kojo as well, who had shares in a microfinance company and had gone through this same crisis. So let us state it clearly. What were the issues you had with Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah regarding that company he had shares in? Was he a director? Was he a member of the board? Was he the chairman of the board? No, but he had shares. He said so for the records. Had the company received monies from the state? No. Is the company indebted to some people that they had refused to pay? Bank of Ghana did not say so. The basis for they losing their license was only on liquidity, insufficient liquidity to carry on operations. That was the basis. So with all due respect, and in all fairness to him, I think that the submission on that score is hugely misrepresented, and it is not the right thing.
Okay.
Now, the last point I want to make here.
Thank you.
If Honorable Ofosu-Ampofo, somebody raised issue at the time about a private relationship, with the greatest respect, I beg to disagree. And this is where I say that if yesterday the politics was so petty and personal, Suhini, you are in your 40s, I am in my 40s. We are a new generation. The politics of 1969, 1979, 92, you can't compare it. Don't let us create any metaphor here. No. Today's politics has changed. We are new generational thinkers who are moderate. So those extremist views must not find space in our politics of today. So yes, if Chairman Ofosu-Ampofo is bitter, I can understand that, so go hard at them. But like Muntaka said, two wrongs do not make a right. If yesterday somebody did it to you, if, like you're saying, if honorable leader had said that somebody saw him and did not greet him and all that, well, if you think that as the fact bear, those things were not too needed in a vetting, doesn't mean that we should repeat it. So I can agree that in our past vetting processes, people might have introduced certain things in there, but we've gone past that. If tomorrow Suhini is going to be a minister of state, and somebody comes to say that, Suhini has a very nice red lips. I know the girls have been chasing him because of that. I say,
you never stop, Aveya.
So, or you come to tell me how many, whatever. No. Also, when he's walking, he has a way of walking, and no, that's not the way. That's not the way to do this thing. So, please tell Chairman Ofosu-Ampofo that well, he should let the bygones be bygones if he went through certain ordeal. But if indeed he did, those were not constitutional. We move past that. I thank you so much, indeed.
Thank you very much as well, Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament, Alex Afenyo-Markin. And now I have Lawyer Martin Kpebu here. So I'm sorry, I have to.
No. I'm not in a hurry to make comments. These are specific. So that's a way you deem it.
Yes. So let me just take a couple of messages on this, but I have quite a few that have come through. Then we'll take a break and then we'll enter a couple of other issues. We'll end up at the Supreme Court. With that one, Lawyer Kpebu will lead the charge.
On that
conversation
so
as well. This one says, good morning, Godfred and your guest. I must indicate that what the NDC caucus did in Parliament in relation to the approval of some ministerial nominees was not in order. However, there are MPs in Parliament and therefore have every right to make these decisions. So let's not divide ourselves as NDC members, rather unite towards 2024. This coming from Stephen and from the Upper East region. Good morning, Godfred. Ask Honorable Suini for me. The explanation is fine though. What is the essence of the vetting in the first place? Because per his explanation, there was a recommendation for rejection and that did not materialize. So what next? And can you also tell us the number of NDC MPs who were absent? That will give us better understanding. Thanks, citizen from Amasaman. Good morning. Hello, Godfred. If these are the constitutional requirements, then why vet them? Because these requirements could have just been handled in Parliament. This is coming from Kojo. Now, if you get on Twitter, there's quite a lot happening on Twitter. So let me just take a couple of the comments on Twitter and then we can move on. General Alexis at Fifi Chawe says, the political agenda in Parliament sometimes makes one wonder whom the parliamentarians actually are. Therefore, the people or their party. Because if not, I don't know why Honorable Afenyo-Markin is defending this Hawakumsen approval. That's his man. Obi Rush is having a go at me. He says I'm a bad host. I mean, come on, didn't you all watch the vetting of Kojo Nkrumah? And you allow Suhini to continue to peddle falsehoods about him. I don't know what you expect me to say and do about this one and why it makes me a bad host, but hey, it's your opinion, fine. And then Layman is enjoying the interview and Yafe. And then General Alexis again says, so the concern of a young man like Sami Jemfi is for parliamentarians to carry out party agenda in Parliament. So when will they actually allow parliamentarians to represent our interests as the people who sent them there? And then he goes on to accuse the two parties of being the cause of Ghana's underdevelopment. So these are a couple more. Okay, so all right, so a couple more messages. Keep sending them in via WhatsApp line 0549-986-996, 0549-986-996, and 0550-585832, 0549-986-996, 0550-585832. Like people, just some quick comments on this, and then we'll take a break.
Okay, so the main one is the argument about the grounds for rejecting a nominee. Please, it certainly cannot be the law that the only grounds on which to reject the nominee is what you find in Article 94. That's not it. Like one of the lay persons said, then there was no need for vetting. As when you vet and you find out that overall, so you see that this nominee is being practically more or less perjuring himself, he says things that are contrary to stated facts and all that. If you find that during the vetting he lacks integrity, nothing stops the committee as a whole from recommending to the plenary to reject him. Okay? Yes, so there are good reasons why the vetting is done. And you know, lay people are used to the spirit of the Constitution, probity, accountability, and so on and so forth. So if we find that there is a nominee who passes the paper test, but there are other aspects of his life that do not pass, he'll be rejected. The Supreme Court itself has used this same spirit to invalidate laws that appear to be laws on paper. You remember the most popular one where the spirit of the Constitution triumphed the letter was the 31st December case, where there's a NDC were using state funds to celebrate 31st December as a public holiday, right? Yes, the law allowed the president to declare each day, a day he saw fit, as a public holiday, blah, blah, blah. Yet, when the case went to court, the court said, no. That coup d'etat brought us so much harm. I mean, people lost lives, etc. And a coup d'etat that overthrew a constitutionally elected government. It's not something we can use state funds to celebrate. So henceforth, it cannot be a public holiday. It cannot be celebrated with state funds. You see, they use the spirit of the Constitution. So the overarching there's some principles of the Constitution, probity, accountability, and etc. So please, we have enough precedent. So it cannot be that the only grounds upon which somebody can be disqualified as a minister nominee is the Article 94 criteria. That's all.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Lawyer Martin. Quick and straight to the point. The big issue, we'll take a quick break. So we are taking a break.
I just wanted to help you answer questions that were asked you during your text messages. 7 MPs were absent.
Okay.
Hey, Papa, no.
Hey, why is your friend at all?
I was at the bar with my friend Ato. We are betting the game and tensions were high. And Ato said, Charlie, we could lose. So then I said, same day. I won 15,000. Then Ato said, wait, we bet the same amount. How come I only got 9,000? Now I asked, yo, you didn't bet to Bet Planet?
Wait. He didn't bet to Bet Planet?
I didn't bet to Bet Planet. Then the bartender said, Ato, you suck, oh. Sharp, I go take all my money. Then Ato said, all your money? That was quick, oh. He's betting people say, come for yours tomorrow. We went the next day and they said, come for the rest tomorrow.
For the best odds, biggest wins, and fastest payouts, choose Bet Planet.
So Ato, where you there?
I still take you inside.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below the age of 18.
Swapinefili. Do you want to see your favorite local TV channels in HD quality? Quality that is 5 times better than SD? Breathtaking pictures on your TV? Do you want to catch all the emotions like you are right there? Then hurry, don't leave any detail to chance when watching TV. Upgrade your regular free-to-air decoder now to experience every scene feely in razor-sharp detail with the HD Plus Swapinefili promotion. Enjoy exciting features on the new HD Plus decoder. Watch all your very local channels in HD. Logical channel numbering systems gives you control over the channels you watch. 7-day electronic program guide, 60 days free HD viewing, and there is absolutely no need for a new dish for viewers on the multi-TV network. Even more, you get to enjoy 100 plus free-to-air channels in SD. Charlie, amazing, right? And you only have to top up with just 100 Ghana cedis. Swapinefili. Visit any Electoral showroom to access this exciting offer. Swapinefili. Terms and conditions apply. Visit hdplus.com.gh for more info. HD Plus, the feely experience.
Welcome back to the big issue on 97.3 CTFM and also on City TV. Discussing now the matters of the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court delivered its verdict on the December 2020 presidential election results, which were challenged by the opposition NDC. Now, the petition was brought by the NDC's candidate, former President John Mahama, who called the December 2020 poll fraudulent. The Electoral Commission parted to the suit said that the President Akufo-Addo won 51.59% of the vote, whilst former President Mahama took 47%. Now, the former president was hoping that the legal action would trigger a rerun against President Akufo-Addo. The Supreme Court, however, threw out the petition, stating that the petitioner based his case on erroneous figures quoted earlier by the Electoral Commission chairperson, which were later corrected by the same commission. So it was a unanimous rejection of the petitioner's argument. And the NDC posts that the petitioner and the flag bearer, he has registered his disagreement with the final judgment. And he said he was not surprised at the decision of the judges. He disagreed with it. And the processes the trial went through. And so that brought to an end, almost 2.5 months of Supreme Court work. And the president now legally affirmed can continue with his work. But we must get some insight into what happened in the court. And Lawyer Akpebu is still with us, and Honorable Afenyo Makin is also with us. He's a lawyer as well, and Suhini is here. But Lawyer Akpebu, let me start the conversation with you. For you, what were the highlights of the Supreme Court justice? And by highlights, I don't mean positives or negatives. I just mean what stood out for you in the final ruling of the Supreme Court. The final one, what stood out for me? Wow, okay. As a lawyer, I mean, certain things will catch your interest. It's interesting. Okay, so the one that I would start with, principal, is about the evidence that was adduced. So from day one, there was a doubt that, considering what had been put out there in terms of the petition, okay, whether really Mr. Mahama was going to be able to prove the case. Yes, there was that doubt. And truly, reading the judgment, you could see that hurdle couldn't be crossed. Yes. But, so that much, there was no two ways about it. Because from day one, when I read the petition, I was like, wow, this thing, can it pass muster? Then they say, wait, when we get into the trial, we'll adduce the evidence. And we say, okay, then let's wait. We went into the trial. Of course, we all know that the major part of the case was the inability to get JM, the female, into the box. Okay, yes, but that notwithstanding, there was always that issue as to whether really they were going to be able to prove that nobody really got the more than 50%. And truly, when you read the judgment, you could see that evidence wasn't forthcoming. So that's the main thing. But you see, Godfrey, if you don't analyze the case well, you may just think, they had no case. No, look, when you go to court, it's not only this case. There are a lot of cases. You go to court, there are strategic reasons. So you may be reading the black letter of the law and thinking that, this guy is not serious. This case is weak. You're just reading the black letter. But he has other strategic reasons that you will not see in the black letter of the case. And that, in this case, for me, is the electoral psychology, the politics of it. Okay. Mr. Mahama has succeeded in keeping this conversation about the legitimacy of Nana Addo Dankwa for how many months now? Close? That is it. That's the whole point. And in the process, when the Supreme Court failed to allow Jim Mensah to come into the box, it just added to the fuel. So you see that a conspiracy theory is being well created. A theory of a stolen verdict. And it's sold well, at least. Yes, in the middle. Those of us, I'm neither here nor there. You see, and there are millions of us in the middle. So when you do this, because it was clear to me from day one that what I thought was Jim Mensah coming to say that could have overturned the result. There was nothing. So this whole thing, no, she will not come. Your pleadings you should have applied for the subpoena earlier. No. It was feeding into the conspiracy theory. Any day, I would have said she should come into the box. He wasn't going to do anything. You see, you look at a society, you gauge the mood, the law allows it. You see, there are different schools of thought. Okay, when it comes to law, you hear positivists, you hear natural school, you hear sociological school, and so on and so forth. So in the sociological school, sometimes you look at the society, the reality on the ground, you need to solve a problem. You know that, look, there's a conspiracy theory brewing. Why don't you bust it? After all, it's not lost on any of us that Mr. Chikata didn't dream about coming to court without bringing Jim Mensah into the box. It's clear to everybody that Jim Mensah was going to be the pinnacle of their case. So if through certain mishaps created by both sides, especially starting with Jim Mensah's affidavit in opposition that
the 12 questions for the 12 apostles, right, could be asked in cross-examination when she mounts the box. You see that an expectation had been created. The filing of the witness statement also created an expectation, though we all know that it didn't mean that 200% she would come. We all know that filing a witness statement didn't mean that at all costs the witness would come. But we're putting all together. You see, you put the pieces together. You remember even at a point when Mr. Chikata was arguing the review application, one of the justices said, "Oh, Mr. Chikata, but this your questions can be asked in cross-examination." So you put all together, you could see that it was clear that looking at the trajectory of the case, Madame Jimensa was coming, right? And then the U-turn happened. So the point is that, yes, the case itself was not going to, at least from the evidence led, result in a reversal of the results of the election. But in the process, we fed into the conspiracy, and so that will be hanging for some time to come. And so for me, yes, going by the black letter of the law, yes, Mr. Mahama didn't win, but in terms of electoral psychology, he's gained a lot of mileage. He's fed into a conspiracy, a huge one. And don't forget, in every society, you know, people like exciting things. The conspiracies excite us. Otherwise, without these conspiracies, life will be very boring. So when you're doing all this, you know, you watch the psychology of the human beings involved. So that is where he's got his mileage. And of course, there is the other side of it, which is that having done this petition in a relatively short time, and considering the way Mr. Chikata tried to push the frontiers of the law and how the justices accommodated him and everything, all in all, I think we've done well. I'm sure we'll go into the specifics issue by issue.
Yeah, we can do that now because there are 5 points to be decided.
So
we can
the court,
start from point 1.
Yes, so the court was asked 5 questions. The first question was really curious. You know, from day one, the respondents gave Mr. Mahama the opportunity to draw first blood. It was just an easy point. It came, this case lacks this reasonable course of action. In simple terms in law, it meant that if Mr. Mahama could prove everything he stated in his petition, he can still not win. But I looked at it, I was like, really? So let's repeat so that lay people, when they say the petition lacks reasonable course of action, what they were saying, the real meaning is that if he took his petition from paragraph 1 to the end, even if he can succeed in proving everything, he can still not win. But you will find in the petition that Mr. Mahama had stated that, there were vote pardons, the allegations of vote pardon, and then also the issue of the total number of valid vote cast that Mrs. Jimensa was supposed to use to declare the valid vote, but she used the overall total number of votes. You see it, the valid was certainly lower than the total number of votes cast, right? Yes, so she made that mistake and used the bigger number, the total number of votes. Meanwhile, a lot had been invalidated, so it made the percentages look smaller. So what we're saying is that in the allegations, yes, they're making allegations that if we went by that oral slip and all those things, and especially they said they were coming to prove, they said there were vote pardons in 32 constituencies, and that these were just a few, they would prove more. Yeah, so going by that, if they could prove that, they were sure to win. So when you come into the case and you look at it, so in other words, it just means that if the person has threatened on paper, that will prove that nobody got 50, at least more than 50%. If the person puts it on paper, please, that's the end of it. The fact that you've not seen other things that show that he can prove it doesn't mean that you should say he has no case. No. Do you get it? Yeah, so that point for me, when they filed and said, they want preliminary legal objection, this case should just be dealt with at that stage so that they'll just dismiss the petition. It looked very curious, very, very curious, because at that point, the cardinal thing is that if you want to argue that point, they would have to accept everything Mr. Mahama has put in his petition. They have to take it as the truth. Or that this is the constant. Yes, so if he can prove the things in his constant, he's likely to win. So as soon as he's likely to win, it means that the person raising the preliminary legal objection will lose. So that one, it was an easy point for Mr. Mahama's team. You see, they drew first blood. So I remember when we were doing the commentary, we said Mahama won, JM won, Nada zero. Of course, like in football, the first minute you can score. By the 90th minute, we all knew that going by the 90th minute, he was going to lose badly, of course, and then you see it. Yeah, so, that's the issue one.
Yeah, on I think two was quite straightforward. Said there is no doubt that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission made a mistake by announcing 13,437,074 instead of 13,121,111 to be total valid votes cast.
Yes.
And the Apex Court was of the opinion that the chairperson had a right to correct the mistake when it was noticed. And in view of this, the second respondent had more than 50% of the valid vote cast. So in conclusion, the petitioner's submission on that did not find favor before the court.
Yes, because you see, even for the petitioner himself, there was a part of his own petition, paragraph 12, where he himself admits that the total number of valid votes cast, that is without Techiman Saf, was 13,121,111. You see, so that's paragraph 12 of his own petition. So if at that point you are aware that this is the total, then it means that the slip, and you knew that the slip had been corrected. That's why I keep saying that. Let's not forget this petition. If you go too much book long reading into it, you would think that they've done nothing. But the greater chunk of what they've done is to have kept the conversation and to have centered around the errors of the EC. That's the whole thing. In actual fact, even as the case progressed, you would hear Dr. Ayuni say they are in court to ensure the accountability of the EC. They are in court to ensure the account. And that much, yes. Did you see, this morning, you even follow, yesterday on Kukuruku, you hear this man, the youth organizer, Nana B. He said, look, he said the EC chair, the EC itself, the chairperson, should learn from the mistakes. That notwithstanding the fact that they've won, she should learn from the mistake because the mistakes were needless, they were avoidable. Yes, can I just Google it up? Yesterday, you see. So that's the whole point. So you see that's why I said this case is about electoral psychology. If you are doing too much law, you lose the whole point. Because as long as you keep showing that there was a stolen verdict, it sells quickly. Don't forget that already there is distrust in the system. Okay? There's distrust. So as soon as you begin to show a little bit that, these people have stolen the election, it sells quickly because of the distrust that's underneath. You see it? Yes. So on issue 2, the court found that yes, Mr. Mahama still couldn't prove because there was already evidence that the EC had corrected the issue. The mistake on the 10th of December.
Yeah.
Right?
And then 3 was
Techiman Saf. Whether if you add or exclude Techiman Saf, the president so won.
Yes.
That one too straight. It was never in doubt that if you excluded Techiman Saf, the president still won the election. If you included it, he won. So maybe we should read out the specific.
Okay, so basically said that at the time the petition was filed, the results of the Techiman South Constitution election was known to the petitioner. And under the cross-examination of I'm paraphrasing here, the cross-examination of the NDC's SC Dunketia established that the second respondent had more than the 50% plus one vote threshold. And that again, if all registered voters in Techiman South of 128,018 were added to the petitioner, the second respondent was still going to make more than the 50% threshold. The Apex Court therefore established that President Nana Akufo-Addo crossed the 50% plus one vote requirement even without the results from Techiman South constituency.
Yes, that's correct. So
pretty straightforward, as you said.
Yes.
Then, okay, let's hop on to 4 and 5. I guess that's where it's a bit technical. The Chief Justice said it is the opinion of the Apex Court that the error made by the EC chair did not affect the result. and was not in violation of Article 63.3 of the 1992 Constitution. So according to him, there was no denying the fact that the EC chairperson made an error.
Yes.
However, based on available evidence, it was corrected. And he said to hold otherwise will mean that errors made in statements and figures are enough to nullify an election result.
Perfect. Yes. So what does it mean here? So we, as we stated earlier, when Madame Jimensa was orally announcing the results, she used the bigger figure of the total number of votes cast. You see, she used it that there were 13,426,000, right? Yes. So there is one here, 13,434,574. You see, yes. But you would see that the next day, so the announcement was on the 9th of December, but the next day, 10th December, the EC corrected it. Of course, Mr. Mahama had the problem that the press release was unsigned and all that, right? Yes. But once you would find that these corrections were done, then you see, and especially also the court was at pains to point out that that was the oral aspect. But in terms of what is on the Exhibit A, what was tabulated, that is the results, and then that for the other candidates, the figure was stated. So if they come back the next day to correct the oral statements, it doesn't take away much.
Okay.
It doesn't take away much. So that is it. So this one, in one sentence, to just get the point of it, this is what we call substance over form. Okay. Yes, because I'm sure that will resonate in so many professions. This is substance over form. It's a small error. It doesn't affect the substance.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And then finally, on 5, Petitioner said, although the court finds the accusation of vote padding very serious, it observed that this allegation was not proven by the petitioner. The judges were therefore not settled in their minds that even if there was vote padding, it did not in any way affect the outcome of the election results. In fact, the quote there says that the petitioner did not adduce cogent evidence to attack this claim. The court expected the pink sheets to be exhibited to prove the claims. Allegations of wrong aggregations of votes were not proved. Even if the vote padding was accepted, it will not impact the validity of the votes of Nana Akufo-Addo. So, in summation of all this, again, we come back to the ultimate strategy. You've said perhaps this was electoral psychology at work. It wasn't just legal work. And I've asked this question over and over again. Nikpakwa Samuadu, who appears on this show regularly, said perhaps the difficulty was people did not understand the NDC's case. And I have responded by saying, how do you go to court and you're the only person who understands your case?
No, people did. The people, you see, sometimes we project our thoughts onto others. For me, it just rather was, oh, this is a small mistake. We can live with it, okay? But it was always clear. You remember the mantra that was going around that the EC changed the results 6 times. The EC changed the results 6 times. People did. So anybody saying nobody understood, I really am wondering how, sometimes as we all talk, sometimes you project your thoughts onto others. But to be very fair, that issue, I was even late in coming to it. The 6 times I was like, oh, but what effect did they have? But there were pinches all over the country. But I see they kept pushing it. And at least now there's a judgment which is recorded that, yes, this whole rumpus started because the EC got the result, the announcement of the results wrong. You see, this led to all of this. And that's why I come back to Nana B's statement, even from the victors' camp. They are admonishing the EC to take time, that this one was needless. She could have kept it. So they should put in systems to ensure that this doesn't happen. And I think we should take that seriously, because at least Nana B is youth organizer of the president's party. You see, yes, because that's the whole thing. That's why I'm saying that this thing for me, and let's not forget, look, in the 2012 petition case, Afarijan made a similar error. Yes, yet he mounted a box. What did he change? Afarijan made a similar error. When you go to the decision of Doche, you would find that this is not the first time. So if in 2012 Afarijan made the same error, then 2020 you find that Jimensa makes the same error, then it tells you that we should be looking at things that we can do to help, the EC. Yes, exactly. So I was thinking maybe we'll be looking at getting experts, maybe mathematicians, statisticians, okay? Yes, something so that we don't go through this again. Because don't forget, we are not the only ones. You live in a country, people have different temperaments, people have different, mindsets. You can't force everybody to think that, oh, it's a small error. You see, the main thing. Yes, we have to understand that to the extent that not everybody is a lawyer, not everybody is an accountant, the elite, so to speak. To the extent that there are people who are not as lettered as we are, we'll have to do things in a way that they would also find reasonable. Because for them, they say, so why do you keep changing the results? If you ask me, the work I do, every day we go to court, there are always mistakes. There are always mistakes because of pressure, so many cases. So when I see small errors in public space, I usually...
You're not moved by them?
Yes, because I know that, look, in my own work, there is all over the place. You see, but the layman is saying, why do you change this thing several times? And there are many. The lay are many. There are millions. So when we are doing things like this, we should have our minds on them, that we do it in such a way that they would accept. Okay? Yeah, okay. So that's a strong point about
all right. Okay. All right, then, thank you.
Error.
Srini, we'll stray from the legal part. I'm coming to you on the response of your candidate post this, where he says he's heard the result, but he's disagreed with it, the processes of it, and any casual observer from the outside would not be surprised by what the Supreme Court read out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And so, again, it looks like what Martin Akpebu is saying, perhaps carrying on the fight in a different way.
No, I disagree with Lawyer Akpebu, with all due respect. Okay. I disagree with his notion that this was not a legal suit, but not just a legal suit, but a political suit in disguise. You see, maybe that should just, by way of ending conversation on our first topic, they say in Dabani that the Bensha Kamden Nanchiama Kum Tahale. To wait, whatever happens on Judgment Day, blame death. Whatever you encounter on Judgment Day, blame death.
Okay.
So whatever you find happening in Parliament that we are not happy about as parliamentarians and grassroots, let's blame how we handled ourselves in the 2020 elections. And that is why in the beginning I told you that the pain is so much for some of us on the appointments committee because we wish we were being vetted and not doing the vetting. So, I mean, that aside, what our flag bearer said about the ruling is fact. I mean, I have had cause, I think, even on this platform to say that one could become a pauper, betting against expected decisions of the unanimous, 9 or 12 judges on the Supreme Court bench. You could just become a pauper, betting against expected outcomes. Because it was so predictable. It was so predictable that it would have been foolhardy for anybody to think that the end result was going to be anything other than what the ruling read out was. I mean, and he's right. Any casual observer would have arrived at no other conclusion than the fact that this was not a fair trial.
Okay. But what next for him then? I mean,
it wasn't a fair trial. I mean, I have said, for example, that the unfairness can simply be established in the rejection of the interrogatories vis-a-vis the disallowance of the EC chair to mount the box. Because clearly, in disallowing the interrogatories, what the judges took into consideration
was the potential cross-examination.
It was key to their decision to disallow the interrogatories. So I'm saying that the judgment on interrogatories could have been different if the consideration was that she's not going to mount the platform. So I'm saying that on the interrogatories alone, there was a miscarriage of justice. To the extent that the key influence for disallowing it was the expectation of the EC chair mounting the witness box. There was a miscarriage of justice.
But expectation is not part of the law, is it?
No, but the judges were influenced by that expectation in their ruling to disallow the interrogatories. And they said so in their ruling. They made the point that the interrogatories could be addressed when she mounts the witness box. So they were largely influenced by that expectation. And that's why I'm saying that forget about even the general outcome. The decision on the interrogatories
for you was the big...
It's a miscarriage of justice. Because that was largely influenced by the expectation. It was influenced, and I am not saying it, the judges themselves in their ruling said that they were influenced by that.
I don't want us to draw. I mean, it's a point you've made significantly.
So I'm saying that the flag bearer was right, was spot on, that this wasn't fair trial. We accept the ruling because we are all bound by the laws and the Constitution of Ghana to accept it. But any casual observer knows that this was not a fair trial. Okay. And for me, again, the fact that a public body like the Electoral Commission was prevented from accounting to the people of Ghana in the manner that they did it, I mean, speaks volumes of how we can just embolden public institutions to treat the public anyhow, without regard to their duty or responsibility of staying accountable to us as a people. Like I said before, if for nothing at all, because the Electoral Commission is a public body, and like Lawyer Pebu said, which I agree with, even if it was not going to influence anything, there was a need for her to take up that advantage to account to the people in relation to what went wrong.
But that is not a legal argument.
It may not be, but the law is not only about legality. The law is not only about legality. That is why they say justice must not be done, must not only be done, but it must be seen to have been done. The seeing part is not for legal sight. It is for you and I, the layman, to see that justice has actually been done. So, it is unfortunate that we could not hold the Electoral Commission accountable through this process. Because this is one of the most biased Electoral Commission that we have ever had in this country. From the processes leading up to their appointment, the commissioners, the appointment of the commissioners, to their own utterances and their own conduct of the elections. I mean, it will be very, very pretentious for one not to see the bias in the kind of commissioners that we have. It will be pretentious for one not to see that this is the most, if you like,
I suggest you choose your words carefully.
I'm trying, that's what I'm trying. They are not non-aligned. We expect our electoral commissioners to be impartial. These people, like I said,
you don't get that from them
at all. And you say maybe you can't blame them. Take it from the processes leading up to their appointment, their own selection, their own conduct even before their selection, and their conduct and utterances after their selection. How can an electoral commissioner, for example, even if he was retorting, suggest that a political party the main opposition political party is an existential threat to the democracy.
I mean,
of
these
this
are matters
country.
we've gone back and forth.
Even if he was retorting, how could he? I mean, and that person is supposed to be an umpire in a game that we were playing.
I get that.
So I'm saying that
I just want to know what next for Mahama. I just want to know in your
what next for
him. This is done with.
You see, President Mahama did not just take this case, and maybe, by the way, let me take this opportunity to wish the wife a very, very happy birthday, Madam Lordina Mahama. Today is her birthday.
Well, that's from all of us. On our behalf.
From all of us. Mommy, God bless you and keep you. You spread so much love
and
around.
We pray for the party.
We pray that same love, abides with you. So President Mahama, like he said when he filed this case, did not do it for himself. Did not do it because he willy-nilly wanted to be president at all costs, unlike, someone we know. He did it, like he said, so that doubts that we all had about the 2020 elections could be cleared, one. And two, he also did it on behalf of the millions of Ghanaians who queued to vote and expected their votes to influence the outcome of the 2020 general elections, majority of whom were NDC, by the way. I don't want to believe that all the 6 million plus who voted for his candidature are necessarily NDC people, but majority, obviously, were NDC. And so he went to court for the millions of people, majority of whom being NDC, who worked so hard and queued to vote for him to be president. And I'm sure that they also followed the process. And I believe they have come to the same conclusion that he has come to. He has always been, an avowed Democrat, not until he even threatened the chances of the MPP forming a government. He was always referred to as the most decent politician in our politics. He was used as a yardstick for politicians to emulate. He was seen as the ideal politician until he became vice president. That threatened the chances of the NPP ever coming to power. Then the narrative about him changed. So I don't see him changing at all moving forward. I think that he will continue to serve his party and his country in whatever capacity that he finds suitable.
Thank you very much, Sweeney. And I end this there because I want to deal with the level issues. I'll start with Honorable Afenyo Markin. On that, and Vitas Azim will join us for that part of the conversation. So this is no news to anybody. As you know, the president has directed the Auditor General, Daniel Yadomlevu, to retire following documents available to his office. Now, this indicates that he retired on June 1, 2020. And a letter signed by the Secretary to the President, Nana Santi-Bediatu, says, Mr. Johnson Ekwoma Siedu will continue to act till a new Auditor General is appointed. Now, we have received responses from civil society organizations, most of whom have expressed disappointment with the President's decision to retire the Auditor General after he returned from leave. And I want to start with you, Honorable Afenyo Markin. You were a lawyer as well on this matter. Honorable Markin.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity again. I've listened to my respected senior Martin Pegbu, and I've enjoyed his submissions. And of course, Sweeney has also come in with his own views. So let me straight away go to Mr. Domelevo.
Yes.
You recall 2 years ago, he was delivering a speech at a program organized by civil society, and I think CTFM participated in that program, where he had this to say about civil servants who were changing their age, that, if you are 60, you're 60, and that he's realized a lot of people were always changing their age, new birth certificate here and there. Of course, on the fact, he's been caught up in a similar situation where he himself has change his age, and the very thing that he was complaining people were doing, he's been found to have done same. And when the thing was put to him, and bear in mind, in all of these, Audit Service wrote to him, and he brought his explanation. Then I also heard last week that some people were saying that it's being alleged that he is not a Ghanaian. It is not the Audit Service that said he's not a Ghanaian, but he, in filling his own form, had said he was a Togolese. So again, he was asked to explain, and he gave out the basis for coming to that conclusion and all that. Well, the fact, if you look at the wording of Mr. President's letter, he said the fact available to him is to the effect that he's attained the age of 60. Mr. Domelevo is one person who is against extension by way of post-retirement stay in office. He himself is against it. He says, look, if you do that, you prevent competent people from taking over and all that. So I believe that he would have to proceed on his retirement in good faith. As to the responses of civil society, yes. I mean, in this democratic space, you expect opinion to be expressed on decisions of the executive. So it is within their right to express disappointment, but I would say that to what extent does the president offend the law by taking this decision? He's acted within the law, and can civil society say that the decision is in excess of the exercise of discretion or power? No. Can civil society say that what Mr. President has done is illegal or unconstitutional? Again, no. I would want to say that Mr. Domelevo is one person so respected by well-placed members of the MPP administration. In fact, when we came into office, although he was a last-minute appointee, but many people were of the view that, no constitutional issue should be raised, or that there is no point in raising certain matters, and that it will be appropriate that he does his job. But looking at the way he's also been doing his job, now he's on retirement anyway, but let's look at his stewardship. I think, like the way judges behave, a judge does his job quietly, put out his judgment or a judgment, and that's it, within the law. I think that the approach by Mr. Domelevo hasn't been the best. I am not saying that it was wrong for him to have engaged the media. I'm not saying that it was wrong for him to have been all over the place. But I think that there were some excesses in his government, in his conduct, and some of his utterances. Because, look, at a point, he created a certain impression about himself, as though he does the audits personally. Yet, the work is done by his office, and he is the boss who supervises these things. So, at a point, it was like a personal, thing and all that. Even in Parliament, the Constitution is clear on when he does his work, he brings it to Parliament. But at a point, his findings were already out in the public domain when Parliament had not done its work. This was one bit of a thing that I thought that, look,
isn't that part of the law?
He wanted to always play to the gallery, and it was all right.
But Honorable,
the victim card he played sometimes. If you are questioning somebody, you must also allow yourself to be questioned. If you challenge people's conduct, your conduct must also be challenged. But whenever you are at the receiving end, you say that, you create the impression that you are a victim of circumstances. No, that is also one aspect about his posture I found a bit worrying. But be that as it may, that is him. That is how he wanted to carry himself and all that. At the end of the day, he served his country. He is now on retirement. I wish him well. I pray that he gets some post-retirement opportunities to continue to serve in whatever capacity he may find himself for the benefit of good governance in Ghana. If you permit me, let me move to the election petition.
Oh, you want? I will give you a bit of time after this one, just so that we maintain some sort of cohesion on the conversation.
Very well.
I will come back to you. I have another question that I will come to.
Right.
But we've been joined by Mr. Vitus Azim, no stranger to anti-corruption issues, and he's also been quite a loud voice on the whole Daniel Domlevo situation. Mr. Azim, good morning and welcome to The Big Issue.
Yeah, good morning and thank you.
Yes, always a pleasure to have you on our platforms. You've heard Honorable Afenyo Markin. He says, look, the president has broken no law. The president looked at the evidence that was in front of him. The president is not allowed to be emotional about decisions that he has to make. And so, per what was in front of him, this is what had to be done. What is the complaint about?
Is it just today? Is it just, Mr. Domlevo, that the president has realized that people above 65 is serving as public officers in his government?
That he has been made aware of?
Definitely he has been made aware of it. Some time ago in 2020, a list was published of people that were above 65 and they were still in public service. It said that, they are going to be asked to go. Then the Minister of Information came out to deny that it's not true that they have been asked to go. And some of them have still remained there. Some remained there until they died. So why is Domlevo a particular case? And from what Mr. Honorable Afenyo said, he was all over. He wanted to be all over the place, and so the best thing is to let him go. If I can understand what he said.
I don't think that is what he meant. He said some of his posture was a bit of his posture was also.
So that contributed to his being asked to go, right? But in any case, just look at the very beginning, the leave and all that. Leave is a privilege. You apply for it. If it's granted, you go. If it's not granted, there will be reasons to say, okay, we're going to pay you cash for it, or you carry it forward to the following year. If you don't apply for it and the year ends, you've lost it. It's called annual leave. So there's no issue of cumulative leave. And in any case, again, how many public officers have not gone on leave in the past 4 to 5 years? Is it just Domlevo alone that has not gone on leave? In any case, the Constitution says that nobody should interfere with the way he does his work. So ask him to proceed on leave. Is it not interference with the way he does his work? If he felt that there was too much work for him to do and decided to sacrifice his leave, and if at the case he was being asked to go on leave, there were cases that were pending in court. So was it right for the president to just say go? Because the audit board had said that that's the situation. Is that not interference? So there was interference. There was unfairness in the way he was handled. And that's what made civil society to believe that it's because of the good work that he was doing that the president wanted him out of the, not just the president and some we wanted him out of the way, especially as we're heading towards the 2020 election. Nobody wanted whatever he did to affect the results, the outcome of the elections.
But if I listen to Honorable Afenyo Markin, he makes the point that the service is not Mr. Domlevo. It has workers. It has people who do this every single day. So why should we say that it is Mr. Domlevo? It's not a personality cult. It's the civil service of Ghana.
He is the head of the institution. Whatever reports, I heard him say that, whatever reports that comes out, he's responsible. He's answerable. He has to sign it off. So it's not like he wants to show that he's a personality cult or whatever, but he has the responsibility, just like the president. Certain things that, even if a minister does something or something, the president has to accept responsibility. So he was just doing what he has been put there to do. So I don't want to believe that should be a reason or an excuse for him, one of the reasons for him to say that he should go on leave or go on retirement. Now, going back to the retirement issue, when you are going on retirement, I think your employer informs you about three months
before that you are due for retirement so that you can prepare yourself. And especially as head of the institution, it also requires preparation with regards to the replacement and all that. So why did they have to wait until the day that, a day or two before he was to resume work, to say that he had to go on retirement, he should have gone on retirement? In any case, where did they get the information to show that he had accumulated leave and did not get the information to know that he was due for retirement in June 2020? Because every employee has a file. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was in administration before. You have a general file, things to do with leave, and then a confidential file. Talks about promotions and self-assessments and all that. And I believe that every public officer has a file, if not at their own office, at the Public Service Commission, or even at those appointed by the President, at the Presidency. So they said they did not know that Mr. W was 60 years in June 2020. Why did they wait? They could have just said, proceed on terminal leave, because you are due for retirement. They never said that. So again, it creates the impression that you are just looking for ways of getting out of the way. Of course, the president might have done nothing wrong, nothing illegal. But I think that sometimes the law is not, people say the law is an ass. But sometimes when you take advantage of the law for some personal reasons, I don't think it's acceptable by society. And that's why many people are against it. You go to the internet, WhatsApp, Facebook, and you see the things that people are saying about this issue. Especially when you see that, why Domelevo? Is he the only one? So that is the situation. And I think that, especially coming from a president that has promised this country that he was going to fight corruption, he was described as incorruptible, and this Auditor General is helping to save money for this country. Mm-hmm. So even if he didn't write to ask for an extension, if it was due, and he didn't even write to ask for an extension of his stay, there was nothing wrong with the president asking him, you are doing a good job, do you want to stay for another 2 years? Because the Constitution allows it, 2 years and 1 year, 65, then you go. But we've seen people that are above 65 and they're still in public service. And now, the situation is this. This is a perception. If the Electoral Commission is perceived to be working with the executive, and the Office of Special Prosecutor or the Special Prosecutor has resigned, and the Auditor General is on retirement, we don't know the replacements. Where are we going with the fight against corruption?
But can't others carry it on? Is it in the bosom of two persons
others
to carry on?
No, I'm just giving examples of people that are fighting corruption. And look at the case of the Auditor General. The one that was asked to act a day after he started work. He said, he has inspected Mr. Osafumafu's documents and he's satisfied with it. So the matter ends there. That alone, to me, is unacceptable. Your predecessor was doing something, you just come in one day. How long, when you were there, did you draw the Auditor General's attention to those documents? How did it take just 1 day for you to clear him? And so that gives the impression that we shouldn't expect him, if he's appointed, if he's given full let's say, if it's confirmed, we shouldn't expect that he's going to do what Mr. Domelevo was doing. And that's the worry.
Now, Honorable Markin, let me ask you this though. On the question of the independence of the Auditor General, there are those who have said that, who share Mr. Azim's opinion that, yes, it is an institution, but it takes a human being to drive the institution, which is the argument you were making that, look, it does not require Domelevo to be at the forefront. The institution would have done its work. But if you look at the institution, until before Domelevo came, nobody really cared, did they? Honorable Markin, can you unmute your microphone, please? Honorable Markin, can you hear me? Yes, unmute your mic, please. Your mic is still on mute, sir.
Yes, I have unmuted.
Yes. So I was asking for your comments on the independence of the Auditor General. It's a conversation that has come to the fore, that it does look like anytime you have somebody in a role who seems to be able to fight both sides of the institution, he becomes an enemy. And this Auditor General was one who was perceived as such. And so his independence to operate has been taken away for somebody who perhaps might be considered more of an institutional person and will be more amenable to the status quo. What is your take on cementing the independence of this particular institution, considering this fight against corruption that the government is embarking on?
All right. So, if the law grants you independence in your work, you have a duty also to ensure due process. Independence does not mean that a certain level of discretion without regard to due process. Mr. Suini made a point that there must be a manifestation of fairness. He used that in one of his submissions. I take that position of manifestation of fairness in this argument here. You see, when you go after somebody without due process, you don't expect the person to be quiet. And you see, I think that listening to Mr. Azim and other civil society advocates, with respect, it appears that they are looking at one side of the coin. Let us look at Osafo.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would all put aside our emotions and look at the facts, you raise issues, you have raised certain queries, and it's against an individual who also has his reputation. You would have to follow and give him the opportunity to respond. Mr. Domelofo does not give that full opportunity. The next thing is in the media. Want media applause of having uncovered corruption when you have not fully exhausted the processes that would lead to that position that you have put out there in the media space. Now look at it. When it went to court, when Osafo finally decided to go to court, the court said Mr. Domelofo was wrong. So you see, I am not against people not doing their work. I am not saying that when the Constitution gives you independence, somebody should interfere. But you, the person in that position of trust, must also know some do's and don'ts. Know that you have a duty to be fair. Know that there must be extra care in how you approach your work. But if you make your work a media thing, today, like I cited the parliament thing, the Constitution says that come to parliament, bring your findings to us. But your findings have not gotten to us yet. It's in the media space. When you begin to do that, you create a problem. Look at Get Fund. You went there to do enhanced special audits. When you've done special audits and certain key persons are affected, you have a duty to write to them for their responses before your final report. But if you don't give people the opportunity, then you are taking us back to the let the blood flow era, which all of us say that, look, by bringing in the 1992 Constitution, we don't want the let the blood flow thing. Now let's look at even Mr. Domelofo himself. 2 years ago, go to Ghana Web, you go and see his video. Ghana Web has just put it on visibility. 2 years ago, Mr. Domelovo said that civil servants would often change their date of birth and will not support it with birth certificate and will find flimsy excuses, all because they want to stay on beyond retirement. Now, your own records, and I heard Mr. Azim talking about how the information became available to Mr. President. The audit service wrote to him. He is appointed. So they wrote to him and made this information available to his office. So it is not somebody who has found on somebody's confidential file. Now, he himself filled his date of birth on his confidential form. At a point, after 20 years or so, he changed it, gave another date. He is now explaining, but this is a man who was impatient to somebody. When somebody changed his age or somebody had issues with it, he said, look, where is the birth certificate? Does he have a birth certificate to support the change? And the first date of birth he himself gave, how did he come by that date of birth? So I am saying that until it is us, we may think all is right. So corruption will not help the country. Fighting corruption again would also require that we follow known rules that would ensure that, look, at the end of the day, the public will get to appreciate that, look, really work was done. When we rush to the court or when we rush a process, trust me, such processes can always be overturned because people will say, look, you didn't give me the opportunity to be heard. So I am pleading with all others who have concerns about some of these things that, look, whilst we look at it from one side, look at it from the flip side, the other side as well. Has anybody ever, all the civil society organizations, have they in their advocacy also had the course to listen to the other side? And have they had the course to even question Mr. Domelovo publicly that, look, yes, sir, we support you. We want you to do your work well, but we also think that aspects of your approach is also wrong. You are not done with your work. You get into the public domain, use the media to get a certain impression about somebody's reputation.
But Honorable Markin, quickly,
if it is wrong.
Honorable Markin.
What else? Yes, sir.
On that particular point, is it not the law that when the day that he submits his report to Parliament, it is supposed to be published in the media that same day? So as soon as a copy shows up in Parliament, it's supposed to be made available. I'm just asking, is it not the law?
Can you read it? Can you read the specific law?
Yes, I will deal with that for you. Just give me a second.
The day he submits, he publishes in the media.
Once it's laid before Parliament, it becomes a public document.
No, please.
That's what the law says.
You go on. I'll read it for you, don't worry. Go on.
Until Parliament finishes its work. Why do you take it to Parliament? For some work to be done, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am saying that. Listen, this morning's whole argument is about due process. You see, my brother, the problem we are having in this country now, from all angles, the politician, the civil society advocate, the media, is that we are all disregarding the due process of law that would help us shape this country to that destination that we all want. You see, if it is about somebody, we are not interested in due process until it becomes us, until it gets to us. We don't want to talk about due process, and that is where I think that if we all get to that point, that look, due process is the way to go. And second, we trust the system of due process, we would get somewhere. But so far, it appears that all of us have become so impatient. The politician would hurriedly condemn the other and call him corrupt. The advocate, civil society advocate, would also say, oh, once we have seen it, he will rush to comment. But how many of us have had the patience to allow due process of law to take effect? Sometimes Mr. Domolovo himself, when he's had quote-unquote attacks on him, he will come to explain that, oh, people are getting him wrong. Why do you think he does that? Because he senses unfairness. I am saying, can he do the same to the others that sometimes he also accuses them wrongly? Today, we find him changing his date of birth. Did he grant audience to those who are changing their date of birth and on record? He said even academia, professors were fighting him. That's what he said, his own words. Because he didn't give them the chance. Today, he gets civil society coming to his aid and saying that, oh, but look at it from this angle and all that. I am saying fairness is for everybody. Let us allow system to work. Let's allow due process to work. It will help all of us someday. But if we rush to justice, trust me, we'll come back home with bruises. And once you do that, somebody is also waiting for a day to have his pound of flesh. That if it gets your day, he says, well, you didn't give me the opportunity, so I am also not giving you the opportunity. Is that what we want in our democracy? No. Nobody is saying that civil society advocacy should be shrouded in secrecy or that they should not do their work. But in so doing, are you doing it on the basis of fairness? This, to me, is key.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Afenyo Markin. I'll take a quick break and then come to Mr. Azim so that we can wrap up this conversation on the compulsory retirement as ordered by the President of the Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. Daniel Yodom. We'll be right back.
Hey, Papa, no.
Hey, why is your friend at all?
I was at the bar with my friend Ato. We are betting the game and tensions were high. And Ato said, Charlie, we could lose. So then I said, the same day. I won 15,000. Then Ato said, wait, we bet the same amount. How come I only got 9,000? Now I asked, yo, you didn't bet to Bet Planet?
Wait. He didn't bet to Bet Planet?
I didn't bet to Bet Planet. Then the bartender said, Ato, you suck, oh, sharp. I go take all my money. Then Ato said, all your money? That was quick, oh. He's betting people say, come for yours tomorrow. We went the next day and they said, come for the rest tomorrow.
For the best odds, biggest wins, and fastest payouts, choose Bet Planet.
So Ato, where you there?
I still take you inside.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below the age of 18.
Swapinefili. Do you want to see your favorite local TV channels in HD quality? Quality that is 5 times better than SD? Breathtaking pictures on your TV? Do you want to catch all the emotions like you are right there? Then hurry, don't leave any details to chance when watching TV. Upgrade your regular free-to-air decoder now to experience every scene feely in razor-sharp detail with the HD Plus Swapinefili promotion. Enjoy exciting features on the new HD Plus decoder. Watch all your very local channels in HD. Logical channel numbering systems gives you control over the channels you watch. 7-day electronic program guide, 60 days free HD viewing, and there is absolutely no need for a new dish for viewers on the multi-TV network. Even more, you get to enjoy 100 plus free-to-air channels in SD. Charlie, amazing, right? And you only have to top up with just 100 Ghana cedis. Swapinefili. Visit any Electoral showroom to access this exciting offer. Swapinefili. Terms and conditions apply. Visit hdplus.com.gh for more info. HD Plus, that feely experience.
Welcome back to the big issue, discussing the compulsory retirement of the now former Auditor General, Mr. Daniel Yodom. You can send your messages in 0549986996, 0549986996, and 0550585832. That's our WhatsApp line. You can reach us also on Twitter at City973, hashtag the big issue, or you can send it to me on at East Sportsman, Godfrey Akuto. Mr. Azim, you heard Mr. Afenyo, he's saying, look, treat people the way you want to be treated. And it's a fair call to be made. Fairness.
Yes, that's what he's saying. But at the same time, he's justifying the decision of the president by referring to the work that Mr. Domoville does. But the president only gave one reason, that he's due for retirement. You see, but he's not saying that. He's referring to that the way he acts, the way he puts things in the public domain, that kind of thing. So is he sacked or he's going on retirement? Because if you're saying that you are not satisfied with the work that he was doing, there are procedures. You are calling for due process. There are procedures. If you are not satisfied with the way the Auditor General was doing his work, you needed to go to court or something, get a petition that what he's doing is wrong. I also mentioned procedures for granting people leave, procedures for asking people to go on retirement. Was he given 3 months notice that he will be due for retirement? Why is it that he overstayed all these years? All this period? Was he not being paid? Who is responsible for that if it's true that he should have gone in 2020? So when you talk about due procedures, he himself knows that they have not followed the due procedures. Now, talking about his retirement date, Mr. Domino would have a Ghana card. Mm-hmm. What date is on that? He has a Senate card. What date is on that?
He has a passport.
He has a driver's license. What date is on that? He has a passport. What date is on that? Did the president attempt to look at all these things? If he changed his birth date, did he go through the appropriate procedure to change his birth date? We haven't been told that he has done that. The president just says that his attention has been drawn to it. What investigation did you do on this to warrant that decision? That's what we're talking about. We're not saying that if Mr. Domolo has done the wrong thing, he should not be penalized or he should not be sanctioned. Yes, if he was supposed to go on retirement in June 2020, he should have gone. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't discover it earlier, you've now discovered it, it's okay for him to go. But it's the way everything went, the procedures and all that. First, you said, ask him to go and leave. Give a number of days. He wrote against it. You increase the number of days. Then you wait. When it's to resume tomorrow, you say, you should have gone on retirement.
And just to
so it's the approach that we are worried about. Mm-hmm. And we think that, as Mr. Malcolm has confirmed, they are not happy with the things that he did. That's why they found
Mr. Federer has confirmed something?
Yes. He has said that the way he puts things in the media, he referred to Osafo Mazo's case, his reputation, all that. So, is he not confirming our suspicion that it was done because of this?
But again,
you can't ask him. He referred to the way he does his work. He wants to personally call other. So, you are not happy with him. Is that not it?
But I'm just saying, going forward, how do we insulate, from the perspective of CSOs, how do we insulate officials in such sensitive positions from situations like this, if indeed we can call this some sort of victimization?
You see, that is why we need to go back to our Constitution. That's why some of us are disappointed that the Constitution Review Commission's work has been put aside. There's too much power with regards to appointments given to the president. These are institutions that are supposed to be independent, SHRAG, Audit Service, the judiciary, all that. In some countries, you have a committee, a bipartisan committee or multi-party committee that gets applications, vets them, and comes out with either one person who is accepted or submits a list of people, about 2 or 3 people, to the president to appoint. Unfortunately, in this country, it's not like that. There's no announcement of a vacancy. There's no that kind of thing. No vetting, no interviews. We don't know. The president just comes with somebody. And the general perception is that the fellow must have been a party person or perceived to have an affiliation with the political party. And when you are appointed that way, you already feel that the president has done you a favor. So you feel obliged to do what the president wants. That may even be on the good side. But where the president can also find ways of removing you, that's the bad part of it, because if you are doing your work very well, there's no basis for the president to move. It's only when you are not doing your work wrongly. And he talks about due process. If he's done something wrong, go through the due process and get him removed. But I don't think that's what they are saying, although he has referred to those things. And that is our worry. So we need a constitutional review, or at least that part, an amendment to that provision that gives so much power to the president. But of course, you know that is not possible. no president would like those powers to be taken away from him or her. And so we don't know. I always said that we need a real patriotic and strong president who will come and say, look, even though I know I'm benefiting from these things, they are not right. It's not good for our democracy. We need to amend them. And I don't know when we'll get that person.
All right. Let me take a couple of messages that have come through so that we can wrap up the show. Fred Boedi says, Godfred, tell Vitus Azu, my friend, that getting to know the accumulated leave of Mr. Domlevo cannot be confidential. In as much as I like Mr. Domlevo, he talked too much and was overly loud as an Auditor General. The same thing has been done to him. He brought a lot of people into public ridicule. He who calls for equity must do equity. This is Fred Boedi. Okay. Xylix Dwayne says Domlevo's case is a clear case of a witch hunt. And as for the ministerial verdict, it was just a waste of our time. And as for the Supreme Court verdict, to God protect us in 2024. That's what he says. Lambert from Dodowa says, good morning, Godfred. Ask Mr. Kwebu if any reforms were recommended by the court or suggested by the court in the ruling in terms of any reforms. Were there any reforms suggested?
No. That's one. That's one area that it didn't find.
Okay.
No.
All right. Now, those who are asking why you haven't heard Mr. Kwebu, is because Mr. Kwebu has 2 active cases at the Supreme Court on this particular matter. So he cannot be addressing that matter in public. That is why, even though he's here, you didn't hear him on the Domlevo matter. For those of you who've heard of, people refer to, there are 2 cases before the Supreme Court on the independence of the Auditor General. Mr. Kwebu is the one who is prosecuting that case.
One of them.
One of them, yes. So that is why I've kept him quiet.
Exactly.
On this matter.
Yes.
All right, more messages. Hamid says accountability must not overcome the rule of law and natural justice and human rights. Accountability should not be sought in a litigation process because the court ensures justice. Parliament is right for accountability. I don't really understand the message, Hamid. Somebody says, Godfred, the chain of inefficiency from the side of the government with reference to Domlevo's witch hunt and subsequent dismissal. He says, I refuse to call it retirement. It's rather pathetic and unacceptable. It only smacks of the government's fear of what he's about to uncover and unleash after the electoral season spending and funding. If indeed he changed his age and has been in public service for over 2 decades and Auditor General for the last 4, how come this is only coming to the fore after the elections and he's coming back to work? It then means many people fail to do their due diligence in his appointment. That's when the MP came to power. They should have done these investigations before letting him continue in his role. The act of the government and in effect the president of this land is totally shameful in this regard. And on this note, I will end this episode of The Big Issue. Independence Day 1. Happy Independence Day to all of us. Happy birthday to Ghana. May we continue to serve Ghana well. May we continue to enjoy our freedom and fight for the independence and the freedom that we continue to enjoy. We are the next generation. As they say, this country is ours. Let's protect it as best as we can. My name is Godfred Akuto Boafo. Have a good weekend.